Sometimes when a person is charged with murder, the defense lawyer will go before the judge or the jury at trial and say, yes, my client did it. Yes, my client killed the person. But what really happened was not murder, it was manslaughter. And if the judge gives the jury the right instructions, the jury really has the discretion to find the person guilty of the lesser offense of manslaughter. So the jury could come back and find the person guilty of murder. They could acquit the person altogether, or they could find in the middle the person guilty of the lesser offense of manslaughter. And a lot of times you'll see a jury sort of compromise on this, where maybe they're deliberating and some jurors think that it's a murder, and some jurors want to acquit the person completely, but they'll compromise and say, okay, well, we'll sort of meet in the middle and find him guilty of voluntary manslaughter. And what is the benefit of manslaughter in a murder case? It really has to do with sentencing. If you're convicted of voluntary manslaughter, the sentencing range is 3 to 11 years. So you could be sentenced to as little as 3 years in state prison. And you may even be eligible for probation. Whereas if you're convicted of murder, you're definitely not eligible for probation, and you're going to be looking at life in prison. So the difference can be very dramatic in terms of the outcome for the defendant. So what does it take to reduce a murder charge to manslaughter? Basically, the defense has to show that the killing occurred as part of a sudden quarrel or in the heat of passion. In a situation where there was some adequate provocation that would provoke a reasonable person to lose all rational thinking and lose control and act in the heat of passion. And for example, there was a famous case called People versus Brooks. And Brooks was charged with murder. And it was a situation where he had just learned that his brother was murdered. And he was furious and he was enraged. And he went to the scene of his brother's killing. And there were witnesses there who pointed out the killer. And so Brooks took a gun and shot the killer. And it wasn't self-defense. It wasn't an accident. But because he had lost all rational thinking and because he acted in the heat of passion in a situation where we can sort of understand a reasonable person being provoked, the jury found him guilty of the lesser offense of voluntary manslaughter. If you have a loved one who's facing murder charges, it may well be possible to assert the manslaughter defense and get it reduced to manslaughter and significantly reduce the penalty that they would face. If they're in this situation, we would encourage you to call us here at Shouse Law Group, tell us a story, let us investigate. We'll see what we can do for your loved one.